Anybody guess where I'm at? I got a tune for you. I'm getting high on life, wasted on nature. Welcome to the Results Kill Excuses show. I'm your host, Greg. You know, I've been getting on here talking about life. And today we're doing life in the Rocky Mountains. Getting high on life, man. I'm getting high on life. We're going to climb big, tall mountains, one right there over my shoulder, 14,000 foot peaks. And that's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to wake up, no hangovers, no regrets from yesterday, other than, right? Maybe if one or two things that I could have done a little different, right? Because again, I think to today's topic, extreme ownership, it is living in such a way that each and every day I wake up with a mindset that I want to be the best version of myself. Will you join me? Will you give yourself that opportunity to not try and be the best version of me, not try and compare yourself to whatever else or whoever else you're seeing in your life right now? All you have to do is wake up, give yourself some time, give yourself some space, and do some reflection as to what is the best version of you. And that usually comes down to, what do you want and why? What do you want out of life? Like, how many of you woke up this morning and said, I want to get fucked up? Shit. I know there's probably somebody that did say that. There is somebody right now watching this show that's saying that, that's feeling that way. And is it even like, are you just feeling that way because you're dealing with some really heavy shit in life? Or is it more that that's your habit? I mean, I used to be that way. Fuck. If I'm on vacation right now, this is like more of a adventure trip, adventure travel, and a little bit of rest and relaxation, rejuvenation, right? All the R's, but I'm going to earn it, because I'm going to go put myself through another really heavy duty hike. And then I'm going to go soak in a cold ass Colorado creek and some extremely hot Colorado natural mineral hot springs. And that's going to just charge me up. But I used to be the guy that no matter where I went, all I wanted to do is get wasted. Like, that was the ritual. That was the mold that I created. And thus, by creating that, literally the mold of alcoholism for me got cast by the time I hit high school, freshman year. It really started by about 12 years old, 13, 14, and then, freshman year right there. I was playing, I consider myself a star athlete back then. I was a stud. And I was a freshman playing varsity sports. Thus, I was with a lot of older senior classmen. And back in the 90s, we partied like motherfuckers. I can't even believe how much alcohol teenagers used to consume at like a house party or a bonfire wilderness type party. It was crazy. It was insane how much. I'm talking about showing up to parties where it would be hundreds upon hundreds of high schoolers, and we would probably go through 20 kegs and then an ungodly amount of bottles of liquor and alcohol and mixed drinks and wine coolers and you name it, man. And it was just no one, there was no parental supervision back then, man. I mean, even the cops. I could tell you guys about times where cops, there would be like a fight or something. So the cops would get called out to one of these parties, like kind of out in the boonies. And I remember one time I was driving my grandpa's Jeep and it was me and a buddy and everybody started running. I think there was gunshots or something. And so everybody panicked and started getting the hell out of the party spot. And I remember I was driving my grandpa's Jeep. Me and my homie jumped in and we had a cooler in the middle, right? As a center console full of beer. And when we were pulling out to the main road, the cops stopped us and said, "Hey, you know, what the fuck's going on back there?" Because we must have been one of the first ones out. And we're like, "I don't know, man. We just got here." And they're like, "What do you got? What do you got right there?" The cop was looking in the Jeep. And I said, "It's a cooler." And he's like, "Have you guys been drinking?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You better get your motherfucking asses home now or else I'm going to, or else I'm going to take you to jail. I mean, it was a threat to either go home or go to jail. It's like, what? Of course we're going to pretend to go home. We're going to go to the next party. It was crazy. But that was our reality. That was the dude I woke up with. And so I tell you these wild stories that are absolutely true because that created a pattern. And yet that also created a lot of regret, a lot of shameful experiences, a lot of painful experiences, a lot of things that I wish that I could erase out of my existence, out of the life that I've lived. I mean, you're talking 2 DWIs, domestic violence arrests, and then there's just countless other really bad things that happen, from the fights to the awkward sexual experiences to the just getting sick and putting myself through hell. And so when I say take extreme ownership, it's like once I hit my rock bottom, I had to say, holy shit, what have I done to myself? Yeah, there was other people to blame. And even under it, underneath the surface of all the addiction, you guys, was trauma, childhood trauma. And yet I'm listening to this book right now that's talking about how 80% of humans have experienced some level of trauma in their 0 to 10 years old. We're talking about physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, neglect, just to name a few. And the crazy thing is we don't realize. I can almost guarantee you that if you're hearing this message, one, I'm so grateful for you to be here, because this is not an easy subject. This is challenging you, and that's why it's going to take extreme ownership on your part to be able to be courageous enough to say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me, in the sense that I'm pretty normal, because the majority of humans had abnormal childhoods, had really stressful, uh, dysfunctional, trauma, abusive type experiences as little kids. And yet we bury all that shit. And we try and bury it as deep as we can, thinking that somehow time will help to alleviate that pain and the repercussions, but it doesn't. It seeps out. And usually when it comes out, it's in an uncontrollable fashion. And yet people that maybe just have like anger issues, or they're called bipolar, or they're this or they're that, like we have all these other labels that somehow seem more normalized, when it's like it's just trauma, right? When you start acting immature, acting like a tantrum as an adult, it's the child inside of you that's taken over control of the body, the emotions, the mental state of being. And it's because there's a trigger that's been pulled or a button that's been pushed. And so many people are so darn feeling like it's a stigma to get help to deal with the mental and the emotional wounds that we have. If we get a physical wound, right? You break your arm, a major laceration, a cut, right? Most of us would never hesitate going to the hospital and to get treatment. But when we are harmed mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, these are invisible wounds. These are invisible injuries that we carry around with us. And the crazy thing is the physical wound, the cut arm, right? It's so obvious, and so we somehow normalize it as like, okay, well, I got a scar. And sometimes those scars can be detrimental, but oftentimes the ones that are the most powerful and the longest lasting are the invisible, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual wounding that we experience. And it's not until you're willing to take extreme ownership, total ownership, extreme ownership of everything that you've experienced. And a lot of that's going to take you having to unlock some secrets that you've kept to yourself. And that doesn't mean you go out there and you tell everybody about it. Like, maybe that's a calling. I know I'm pretty much an open book because I desire to reach other people and to be able to speak clearly about a really challenging, uncomfortable subject matter, such as mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And so if you're someone that's out there suffering, you don't know where to start. I just saw 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's a nice indicator for me that it's go time. You're not alone anymore. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. And not only is it just me as a talking head, right? Where I'm going to start, where I already have differentiated myself, this content is in the nature of what we're talking about, but yet secondly is this gift that I have for you right now. And it's a very valuable gift. It's something that's probably valued in today's um, educational online space at probably over $1,500. If you have an Apple iPhone, I want you to type in these 3 magic words: results kill excuses, and download that app. And if you have an Android, it's coming really soon, depending on when you're watching this video. If it's in the month of July of 24, it should be for sure sometime after that. I know it's hopefully coming soon. Fingers crossed, it's going to happen very soon. And yet, a lot of people are going to sit there and be like, I don't need that. And I used to hear that. I used to hear that from my ex-wife all the time when I was getting therapy, right? It's like, I'm causing her pain, right? I know I am. And I'm taking ownership for it because, one, I've gotten sober, right? We were still together once I hit my rock bottom. So I'm getting sober. I'm taking responsibility. I'm making drastic life changes. I'm going to therapy. And yet, once I started to heal, guess what? I started to realize I wasn't the only one that was fucked up in the relationship. I realized, you guys, I'm going to say that again because it feels good. I realized I wasn't the only one that was fucked up in my relationship, that was dysfunctional. Even though I was made to feel that it was all my fault. And so even when you take extreme ownership, it's not you saying it's all your fault. It's you saying that I'm going to take 100% ownership of everything that I've done. You can't control what other people have done, but you just take 100% of ownership of your life and all the experiences that are in there. And yet when I was getting help and I would mention, we'd get into a little disagreement, and I was already sober and I was already going to therapy, and I'd say, we get in a disagreement, and I would be like, I would tell my spouse at the time, are you open to going to therapy? I don't need therapy. You're the one that's all fucked up. I would be like, I know that. Okay. Okay. I know that. Yes. Yes. We know that I'm the one that's all fucked up. But guess what? That doesn't get you off the hook. And yet there is a huge stigma about getting help and getting therapy. And could you just imagine if you staying in that state of denial is the one decision that holds you back from living the most incredible life of your dreams? Living out here in the wild, in nature, living wild and free, like experiencing things like you've never could have imagined. I mean, this is how important this show is to me, that I'm going to get on here every single day, no matter where I'm at. I'm so grateful right now that there's technology that allows for that. I invested in a Starlink system, and it's like that should set me up pretty much everywhere on the planet, no matter where I'm at, to have connectivity. And, I'm somebody that will tell you that, we do have a cyber digital addiction in this day and age, but there's a difference between making content that hopefully inspires change in the hearts and minds and lives of other people, and then sitting there and just consuming content all day long and being all miserable because you're seeing what everyone else is doing and your life is not doing that. And yet, could you just imagine if you were just one decision away from saying, you know what, he's right. I want to change. I need to admit that there's some bad shit that I need to deal with in my life that I'm actually responsible for. I can tell you that I felt like it was a breakthrough in a relationship I was in, my most recent relationship. Um, I've gotten to this place where I can hold space. I can hold space for anybody, really. Myself first and then anyone else. And yet I stay very grounded. I try not to get sucked in too much to the emotional highs and lows and the getting defensive. And I really just know who the fuck I am right now. And it's so empowering. That's that extreme ownership, knowing who you are, but also knowing that I'm going to improve myself. But I remember this breakthrough with this woman where she had done something, maybe even subconsciously, to try and kind of hurt me. And I called it out. I called it out. And it, as to be expected, total denial, excuses. Oh, well, that's not why, it was about this and it was about that and ba 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 ba. And I said, that's all bullshit. Why won't you just admit that the shadow version of you, the dark feminine energy inside of you, did it to try and hurt me, to get even, or whatever it was that you were trying to justify? Because if I had done something that caused you pain and then you didn't communicate it, and then your response was to do something that you thought would kind of throw me off, that's like kind of a toxic pattern. And it shows there's a lack of confidence to be able to communicate our needs and our wants and our feelings, which is an area that I am still very much growing and expanding right here, right now, as I speak to you. And yet it took some back and forth, and I think maybe even another call for there to finally be an admission. And I could just tell that even though we weren't in each other's presence, it would have been much more powerful if I had been able to hold that in the present. But energetically, there was a release there. for her to be able to truly embrace that dark feminine energy, saying, you know what, yes, at the root of what I did was absolutely to cause this pain for you, right, to hurt you. And I think we all suffer from ownership, taking responsibility, and a lot of that is survival mechanisms. It's a survival mechanism. It's a trauma response. It's fear of, a punishment or abandonment. I mean, those are like the two extremes, right? So some of us were totally afraid of being punished, right? And the other side, we have people that are afraid of being abandoned. Those are the extremes that cause denial of facts. And I experienced that for many, many years with my ex-wife. She would never take ownership of anything. And it's like, that's a requirement nowadays for me, right? To do relationship, to be in an intimate, long-term, like serious connection, you have to be able to own your shit. It's like, sounds so easy, but it's not. People don't want to own their shit. They want to blame everyone else. We live in this fucking hyper victimized society. And I heard something yesterday that was very powerful. And if you haven't heard this interview, I'm going to put a plug out there for it because one, I love the Marines, hoorah. And this man was just so fucking raw and vulnerable, but his name's Rudy Reyes, and look up the Mulligan brothers, and it's like a 2-hour plus interview. And man, buckle your seatbelts because you're about to get vulnerable XXL. I mean, from one of the greatest warriors our country's ever had in terms of a force recon Marine, just A-type man. But he's talking about being sexually abused as a boy, being rejected, just so much hardship throughout his life. And it's so refreshing for someone to totally take ownership of their story, the good, the bad, and the motherfucking ugly. That is extreme ownership. And that is what I'm asking you to open yourself up to be willing to do. You will be the most powerful, unstoppable version of yourself once you do. You're bulletproof, man, when you can own your life. Everything, man. Yeah, when you can own everything, I highly recommend listening to that interview. It's deep, man. I got emotionally overwhelmed throughout it. I was crying. I mean, he was bringing up some memories about the fights and even the sexual abuse stuff as little kids. I remember being around some pervs. Like I grew up in a Hispanic community and I'm a mixed race. And I remember from men and women having sexual advances made towards me on many occasions from older people. And that shit fucks you up. And so here at the Results Kill Excuses community, my deepest desire is to create and sustain a container that will allow you the freedom and the flexibility to be your true and authentic self, to come out from the dark, from the shadows, from hiding, and to come out into the open and to truly be seen and heard for who you are. And not to be judged, not to have a fear of abandonment or rejection, but here we're going to embrace you. We're going to fucking high five you and celebrate you and cheer for you. And we're going to find ways to empower you. And that starts by having a willingness to put in some work, to do some deep diving, self-reflective, self-discovery work. And guess what? I have 25 lessons packed into 5 focused courses. That's literally over a month worth of free content for you right now on the Results Kill Excuses app. No strings attached. And yet there's videos with me guiding you through every one of the lessons. There's downloadable. You have to be able to download and print out the worksheets. But I have put my heart and soul and every ounce of my creative talent, every ounce of my healing, and just God's guidance to be able to infuse into this material enough value for you to gain some traction, some momentum, and prayerfully to have some breakthroughs in your life. And I believe that these courses in and of themselves are for every single person on this planet. They're not just for this type of person or that type of person. We have all been through some shit, and yet it's all self-reflective. Getting into one of these courses isn't an admission that you're a fuck up. It's one of the most heroic acts that you could take. And I'm here to cheer you on from this incredible scene, which is just really me doing my life. And that's the beautiful thing about when you start to take extreme ownership, you can really start to evaluate the things you love in life and the things you hate in life and the difference between the two, and to really start to like craft your life in a way that honors your truth, so that you're set up for success, that you are doing the things you absolutely love on a regular basis, that you're not deprived and starved of doing things that you truly love, that build you up, that give you life. Again, I started the show like, how many people woke up and said, man, what am I going to do today? I want to get fucked up. I want to get high. I want to stay and be depressed, right? I want to just sit and watch porn all fucking day. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm just going to sit back and watch other people perform at the highest level, and I'm just going to overeat and overeat and overeat. And it's like, and then what? And then you got to wake up and start a whole nother work week of what? Mental suffering, resistance, feeling like, man, my life fucking sucks. Well, when are you going to take extreme ownership? I hope it's right here and right now, because you have support. No more excuses. There's no more excuses. Help is here. If you're hearing this message, it's because your time is now. Will you join me? Will you give yourself permission to try something new? Results Kill Excuses app. There's 5 courses with 25 lessons packed into there. It's all self-discovery work. But what you put in is what you'll get out. And that's anything in life. When you half-ass things, guess what? You get half results. Go all in, you're going to get these type of results. Living your best life. Getting high on life. Wasted on nature. But I am asking you to be extreme. Extreme ownership is what it's going to take for you to have your breakthrough, for you to truly start feeling like things are shifting in your life. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. If you want to sit there and celebrate other people, that tells me that you need to switch something in your life, a new focus, a new purpose, a new aim. You should be building yourself up. You should be working on you, not worried about other people. I don't have no idea how you could be worrying about or watching any other person other than something like this that is going to speak life over to you and encourage you and challenge you at the same time. This is meant to inspire you, encourage you, cheer for you, but challenge you to spring into action, to start making some major shifts in your life. I love you guys. I care about you. I send you light, love, peace, strength to start living your best life. Keep checking on your, if you haven't already. If you haven't already, Be sure to subscribe, share this message. 2,000 men around this world are killing themselves. 2,000 men are going to choose pain over life, which means just taking extreme ownership. Comment down below, be seen, be heard. Download the app. The link is in the comments down below. I love you guys. You know the drill. Results, kill. Excuses, transform your sick and tired into optimal and unstoppable. Greg's out.